Alright, good afternoon everybody. Welcome to Tales of Two. Sorry I'm a little bit late. I was trying to get my computer to work, decided not to, so we're doing this from my phone. We are also doing this from my backyard in Philadelphia. So instead of us being at Cedar Run, we're going to show you a couple different things that you guys can do today from your house. Specifically, we're talking Earth Day. So guess what, guys? Happy Earth Day! It is the 50th anniversary, which is amazing to me. So we are going to talk about bees because, hey, they're kind of important. They're really, really important. They're actually a lot of fun, too. So we got a lot of things going on. First of all, you guys have probably seen out in your backyards, out in at Cedar Run, out in the wild, wherever you are, you've probably seen a lot more bees coming out now. It is spring, a lot of them are coming out, so we're going to get to see, hopefully I got a couple passing through here, because I do get them in my backyard, so we'll see. Bees are really, really fascinating creatures, and they're really, really important for our environment. We have thousands of different kinds of bees. The honeybees are the ones that most people know because they're the ones that make us honey, and they're the ones that everyone is really concerned about. So, but there's a lot of other different kinds of bees. Honeybees actually aren't from the United States at all. They're from mostly Europe, some places in Africa, sometimes Africa, depending on the kind of honeybee. But in the United States, especially in the eastern coast like this, we actually have a lot of other different kinds of bees too. So, and they all do the same kind of thing. The biggest thing that bees do is they pollinate our flowers, which is huge, especially for honeybees, because they want the nectar out of it, and they want the pollen out of the flower. And we like it because when the flowers are pollinated, then they're able to make fruit. Okay? So if you see a bee around, it's actually doing quite an important job. Okay, so don't be scared of it. Now, I do have some lovely huge flowers here because they're amazing and they're fun. And I didn't have a real life bee to come and join us, so I have a little substitute. Ha 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 ha. Now, it's a little pom-pom bee, so yeah, don't get too excited. But the cool thing about the bees is that when they're visiting a flower, they are going to be visiting the flower for the nectar. Okay, so they're going to be stepping down onto it. They're looking mostly for the nectar, which is that sugary stuff that's inside the flower that attracts the bees. The flowers make it so that the bees can come to them. But the other thing that they're coming for is the pollen, which is the really, really important part. So the bees will take a little bit of the pollen, they'll get a little bit of the pollen onto them. And when the bees have that pollen, when they meet another flower, when they fly off and they come to another flower, a little bit of that pollen gets rubbed off. And when that pollen gets rubbed off, that's how the flower is able to make a seed. Okay? And hopefully in most cases, it's also able to make a fruit. So things like apples and blueberries, grapes, they're all bee pollinated, which is really neat. Okay. Now honeybees do this, carpenter bees will do this, bumblebees will do this, sweat bees will do this. There's all kinds of different bees that will do this. Plus things like wasps and flies, all sorts of things like that. So they're all going to visit these flowers and they're all going to pollinate. Okay. Now, like I said, these bees are really, really important. So when we hear things that we're losing bees, it's kind of an issue. So in some places, bee populations are really starting to they're starting to fall, okay? They're falling for a bunch of different reasons. Sometimes it's because there might be too many honeybees and the native bees don't have a home to go to anymore, or they don't have the flowers. Sometimes it's habitat destruction where there's not enough flowers to go around. They can't just keep producing nectar so that the bees keep having stuff to come to. So something like that might happen. It could be that they don't have a home. And we're going to help with that a little bit. So one of the other things I want to show you how to do today in honor of Earth Day and helping the environment and helping the planet Earth, what I'm going to show you how to do is create a home for one of our native bees. Now one of our native bees that is really, really important to our area is called a mason bee. A mason bee looks a little bit like a carpenter bee. It's a little bit smaller. Okay, they are really, really docile. They don't sting hardly ever unless you're actually trying to like cup it in your hands or trying to grab it. So these bees are really gentle and they're really great to have in your garden because they are fantastic pollinators and they're pollinating a lot of the native plants that we have in New Jersey. Okay, so what I'm going to show you how to do is I'm going to show you how to make a little, oops, looks like my string fell off. No, come back here. I've got the wind blowing a little bit too, so that's causing a little bit of issues. I'm going to show you how to make a mason bee home, and this mason bee home is going to be using a tin can. Oh, here it is. I don't know if you can see the inside. There we go. Okay, so this is a mason bee home. All it is a tin can. You guys might remember my beet jar from the egg dyeing. We try and reuse if we can. Okay, and inside of here, these are actually just paper straws rolled out of newspaper. So I'm going to show you how to make those. It's really fun. I've been doing this all day, and it's actually kind of relaxing. So this is fun. Okay, so the first thing you're going to need is an empty tin can. Okay, soup can is fine. If you're using one with the pop-top lid, please be very, very careful about this outer rim. This edge gets very, very sharp, okay? So please be very careful about that. We don't want you to cut yourself. Wash it out, dry it out. Now's the time that if you want to decorate the outside, you can draw on it. You can put another piece of paper. You can make your own label for it. And you can decorate any way you want. Okay, you can paint it, you can use acrylic paint, won't wash off in the rain. That's permanent after it dries. Like poster paint, that'll just wash right off, so try not to use that. Okay, like I said, you can glue another piece of paper onto it, that's fine too. Okay, so once that's done and decorated, you can do as many decorations as you want. The other things you're gonna need, you are going to need a pair of scissors. You are going to need a round pencil. So this round pencil is going to shape our straws. Okay, you can use a marker too. I wouldn't use anything short because you want to be able to pull it out. Okay, so have it be long. A chopstick might work, but you kind of want it bigger. Okay, a marker will work too. Okay. You are going to need some newspaper. And you are also going to need some type of glue. Now, surprisingly, I did not have too much glue in my house. So what I used instead is I used flour paste. Now, flour paste is just a little bit of water, a little bit of flour, and that's it. It just makes a glue. It's biodegradable, non-toxic for the most part. If you're gluten-free, don't use that. Use regular white glue. It's fine. It's okay. So, what you're going to do is take your paper and you are just going to rip a spread off. Okay? Now, if you didn't know, newspaper, you can actually rip it only in one direction. If you try and rip it the other direction, it'll just try and turn the other way, which is kind of funny. My piece kind of long, so I'm going to cut it in half. Here we go. Okay, and here's the part. I'm gonna try and bend the camera down a little bit. I'm doing this by my lonesome, so we'll see. I was planning on having the computer to help me out, but we'll see how this goes. Okay, so bear with me a minute. Nope, that's not gonna work. Okay, so what I'm gonna do, try this again. Oh, to have the tripod. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna take your, let's see, can I see see it? I can't see what I'm doing. You're going to take your paper, and you're going to wrap it around the pencil. Okay? And then you're just going to roll it right up. Does not have to be exact. Look at how not exact that is. That is fine. Just leave a little bit open at the end because that's where you're going to put your glue. Okay? Hi guys, sorry. Something was happening. Okay. Let's try this again. So, we have our little piece of paper. Okay? A little tube. Just take a little bit of your glue. Nah. I'm trying to do this in reverse now for the first time. And rub it just down the edge of it. You don't want too much or else it'll get really messy really quickly. Just kind of cover it just a little bit. Just the end. Okay? And then you roll it up. You wrap it up. Make sure it's all sealed tight. And then you slide it right off the straw or right off the pencil. And there's your straw. That's it. That's all it is. That's the easiest thing in the world. I was doing like 20 of these, so this is fine. Okay? And then once you get enough of them, then you put them... Oh, here's the other thing. This is why you need the scissors too. It has to be the right height. So this one is actually a little bit too tall. It has to sit down inside of our can by about 1 centimeter or about 1/2 inch. You don't want it sticking out the top because paper is really absorbent for water. So anytime it rains, the paper is just going to get soaked. The water's just going to wick right down. So you want to make sure that you have a little bit, cut it down a little bit. Okay, so in this case, we need to cut off about 1 centimeter. So we'll do that. So we'll take our big scissors and just cut it down. There we go. Now we got a perfect size straw. And that is going to fit right inside of our, maybe right inside. Now here's the thing. You don't want to pack this too tightly either. If you pack it too tightly, then your, if you pack it too tightly, your paper straws are just going to collapse. Now, this is actually perfect right now. They're not going to tilt out. Oh, well, maybe one of them will. They're not going to tilt out too much. Okay? And then you can just hang it. You can hang it wherever you want to. I would suggest hanging it someplace that is sheltered. So someplace that has a little bit of an overhang maybe. And I would suggest hanging it somewhere that's facing the sun. So somewhere east facing. Okay. I do have a question here. If you can just use a regular straw. You cannot use any paper straws. You cannot use plastic straws. Plastic straws don't allow everything to breathe. Because what the bees are going to use this for is they're actually going to lay their eggs inside of each of these straws. When they lay their eggs inside of these straws, they leave. They're going to put some material in there for the babies once they hatch out of the eggs. They're going to put some materials in there for the babies to eat. And then they cap it off. So they actually will put a little mud or a wax cap on top of it and then leave. The adults usually, once they mate and lay eggs, usually they die after that. So this is going to be a home for the little baby bees for next year's bees, which is what we want. If you use a plastic straw or something like that, it doesn't allow the bees inside to breathe, which they will need to. And sometimes, like parasites and stuff can get inside of it too. So you want to be able to pull things out. You can use wood. You can use like, you might see like hollow sticks. You can use them. So you can pack those in too. You can use... Let's see. I've seen like reeds, stuff like that. You can use any sort of natural material like that. I would not use plastic though. You also, like I said, you might get some like other little bugs and parasites inside of it too. So you want to be able to pull them out again. So you want to be able to check and make sure that there's nothing that can hurt our mason bees. So you don't want to have you don't want to glue anything in either. Okay, like I said, most of this stuff is just going to stay right inside. You don't want to glue anything in. Okay. Couple question: is there a possibility of wasps using this instead of honeybees? Neither will actually use these. Wasps are not going to use this kind of home. They don't. This is not the kind of home they like. They're going to create their own home. So the wasps you're going to see, they're going to make a really, really cool hive, and that's really, really fascinating to watch. So the wasps aren't going to use this. The honeybees, they're going to do something a little bit different. So they're going to make their own hive in a whole other place. This is going to be for mason bees, which like to have, they search for a little hole or a hollow to look for to lay their eggs in. They might use old carpenter bee holes. They might use old woodpecker holes, something like that. So in this case, we're just providing a home for a bee that looks for a really, really specific type of home. Okay? So, are there any other questions? I hope you guys are finding this interesting. Okay. I will show you how to put it up too. I made a really long string for this. So this one is probably way too long, but you can put it, like I said, you can put it just about anywhere you want. You might put it under a deck, you might put it on top of a deck. It'd be really cool to watch them. Like I said, the bees that come into this are really, really docile. They're not going to sting. This string just does not want to stay on. They're not going to sting. They're not going to get in your face like carpenter bees will. Not the kinds of things that they do. Okay? Can you use different types of can, or does it need to be large? Excuse me. You can use any kind of can that you want. I have 2 different size cans here. Excuse me, I think something got in my throat. I have 2 different size cans. I have this little vegetable can, and then I have this one. This one's a bigger one. This one's a soup can. You can use any kind of can. You can use a little one. You can use a huge one to make a big bee hotel if you have really energetic kids and you want them to do a lot. But yeah, like I said, these ones are a little bit different. This one actually fits inside of that one. Okay. Excuse me. And like I said, you do want to try and cover it if you can. Make it so that it doesn't blow around in the breeze. If I were to hang this behind me, I would use a much shorter string, and I would try and hang it, if I could, so that, can you guys see that? If I could, so it's angled down just a little bit. That way, if there's any water that does get inside, it'll drain out again. Now, I've seen some of these where you can drill a hole through the can. I personally would not recommend that because I don't want water to get inside of it, and that just lets it in. Having the one side open is perfectly fine. So just strap it up and tack it up. Okay? All right. So if there's any more questions, yep. Hi, Hunter. I'm glad you're going to make one of these later. Hunter says I'm going to make one of these later, and this is fantastic. This is a really cool project to do for kids. All right, so I am going to leave you guys. Thank you very, very much for joining me today. Thank you very much for supporting us. And once again, our trails are still open. Our wildlife rehabilitation center is still open. So if you have any animals, you are more than welcome to drop them off, and hopefully we see you soon. All right, thank you very much. Have a good day.